Hello and good morning. Today's sessions will be recorded. Q&As are open and the mics are enabled, but please raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. Otherwise, you will break Kris's flow and he'll get very upset. And while we're waiting for a few more people to attend, I'm just going to create a poll just to see where you're all coming in from. If you could please fill in that poll. Kris, you can do Australia if you want. I'll do the same.
Done.
Thank you. And we'll just give it literally 1 more minute because there's so much to cover, and the session's recorded anyway. So whoever's not here, it's on them and they'll have to pick it up later. Good. We've got some people from the Philippines.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Nice.
Hello to everyone from the Philippines.
Excellent.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. All right, I think we should get going.
Okay.
So please allow me to introduce you to Kris Manche. Kris Manche, also known as Dr. BC, not an official doctor, but it may as well be, right? He's also the owner of DIY-ERP and is a seasoned veteran in Business Central with over 25 years experience in mastering functionality, his technical expertise, as well as pre-sales, delivery and support. He's a trusted advisor for ERP success in Dynamics Business Central with complex business environments, and he's a great friend to PAX8. My name is Ben Opert. I'm the Business and Application Manager for APAC. I've been in Dynamics for about 22 years, so three years below Kris. I'm just getting the hang of it myself. Kris, just on the next slide, do you want to introduce yourself and walk us through this slide, please?
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So my name's Kris Manche. As Ben said, I've been doing this a long time, but basically we've created a wizard-based implementation process and a full implementation methodology, which means we install BC completely configured, and the process partners actually help their clients walk through the process of removing what they don't need and making the changes that they do need. So they're focusing directly on learning and using the system from day one. We find all of our partners not having any rework or warranty, of course, because it's a structured program and it's fixed pricing. We help you all with your pre-sales, sales closing, templates, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, literally it's the new way for everyone to be doing BC. We hope that Microsoft will adopt this globally over the next 5 years. And it really makes the customers the center of the implementation.
Yeah, it's incredible what you've built, Kris, and we continue to support your IP in the markets around the world. But it's very exciting to see what you're building, especially how valuable your knowledge is on this space, and the change management area as well is very important. So we do thank you for that. Thanks for that introduction.
Thank you.
So here's today's agenda. We have got quite a lot to cover. We've already covered the DIY-ERP introductions, but this is an introduction into how to administer Business Central. We hear a lot from Dynamics partners how most MSPs don't know how to manage Business Central properly, and they're in the way. And we don't want to have that conversation. We want you to be informed and understood on how to make use of Business Central as an administrative user. It's very important for PAX8 partners, as most of our partners are MSPs. So we're also going to cover things like how do I get a trial of Business Central, how to create a Cronus company, which is the default name for businesses that Microsoft offer, how to manage notifications and different environments, and how to back up and security groups, and well, there's a lot to cover, and I'll cover towards the end of that some of the tenancy data and license types, just so that so that Kris can have a break from talking for so long. But why are we here today? So PAX8, we have 3 mantras. We want to help MSPs administer Business Central. We want to help you administer Business Central so you know how to do that, but also importantly how you can start to help finding new revenue streams. So if you understand how to administer Business Central properly with Kris's guidance, you may be able to offer additional revenue streams to your customer. That might be support or level 1 support as an example, or how to back up a database. So rather than not knowing this process at all, you have some new potential revenue streams that you can work towards. And also we want to reduce your risk. We want to teach you these things so that you go in with eyes wide open. You understand the functionality and capability of Business Central and what it offers, but also some of the things to be aware of as you go into this workload. So that's our 3 mantras. We want you to improve productivity, we want to reduce your risks, and find new product revenues. So there's a lot of knowledge about to come down the pipe. These are some new terms that you may not have heard of. And this is not to scare you. This is just to get you used to some of these things. So we're going to cover some of these things off in detail, and Kris will step through all of these things and more. But just one of the things I do want to, before we get going, and Kris and I talked about this, whether or not I should mention this. Microsoft are investing heavily in AI. I think we all understand that. And Microsoft are also investing heavily in this area. AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And Microsoft recently announced something called MCP, which is a Model Contracts Protocol, which is a way for agents to communicate to each other. So Microsoft is starting to work out, how does that actually translate to real world practices? Now, how could Business Central become MCP aware? How could an agent experience potentially help connect up some dots that weren't there in the past? Now, I do want to play this slide. It's about 3 minutes long, but I think it's very important. And this is just an example of what the capabilities might be in the future. But this is all what Microsoft are working on. So I'm just going to click play through that. Just give me a thumbs up, Kris, if you can hear the audio. It's just a fantastic example of what's coming for us. MCP servers are so incredibly powerful. Jay, if you can't see that video, maybe just disconnect and reconnect, because we were all watching that video. But it's just an example. Now, I just want to share with you as well, everything on the screen is interactable. So if you do want to click on that link and bookmark it for later, you can do so. I also will, towards the end of the presentation, talk about what Pax8 are doing towards the agentic experience in our own marketplace, making use of MCP servers. But we'll see how time goes on that one as well. So a great way to get going into this new workload is to spend some time in the actual product. Now, this link, and you can click on this link, will give you a bit of an overview of the capabilities of Business Central, and you can do that. You can share this link with with one of your customers or your prospect. Might be a good way to get going on this new Business Central capabilities.
100%.
Now, as an MSP, it's important to understand this role, because understanding the base functionality of Business Central is obviously key, but that will also help you position yourself and maybe set yourself up for future success. So really good way to get going on this to actually, I'll actually click on the next slide because Kris wanted me to produce this. This is just some of the things you will learn. And it's not a huge course. I think it's about an hour and a half to get through all that, but I'm not sure if that's clear enough. I'm not sure if the quality there is good enough, but really valuable insights that we think you should get going on. And will again help you learn more and grow.
And you can share those specific chapters as well with a client. So when someone says, does Business Central have manufacturing? You can just go, you can actually click on that particular Business Central manufacturing capabilities and share them that particular topic in the course only.
Love it.
Or share them the whole thing.
Yeah, 100%. So just as another bookmark for you, please click on that link and save that and maybe review that afterwards. Okay, so enough from me. Kris will now take you through how to administer Business Central using the Business Central Admin Center, which is a different admin center to what you're used to. And he will show its key functionalities and how important it is as an MSP to understand those. We'll also touch a bit on M365 Teams as well, right, Kris?
Yes.
Okay, Kris, do you want to take over the screen? I'll stop sharing and you can, or you can just stop sharing and then you can take over the screen and present your screen and away we go. Thank you.
Okay.
I will close that poll as well. And I'm going to bring up another poll just to see whether everyone is a Pax8 partner or not.
All right, so can you see we're on the next slide here?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, so this is the next slide, everyone. And you can actually click on this link up here and it'll take you to this exact page, right? So what it'll allow you to do is set up an actual trial on your domain at work, on your tenant, and you can actually spin up your own BC system and you'll have Cronus installed automatically. So let me just toggle across to, where are we? So at the moment, I'm now in Business Central. So if I click on that link, it'll take me straight through to this great, you selected Business Central. Now this is also a really good thing to share with your prospects and clients because then they can set up their own trial really quickly. Right, so basically you'll sign in, create your account, confirm some details, and it's going to spin up your environment. So this is our environment here, already spun up. So at the moment we're looking at the actual implementation toolkit that we've developed for Business Central. So we're not going to go through that today, but what I am going to do is when everyone has Business Central installed, you can see if we go up to our gear settings, we can go to the admin center. So if I open up the admin center, now, there's nothing scary about the admin center, right? So as an MSP, you're just by using your trial and playing with your admin center, you'll be, and the things we're going to cover today, you'll be very easily and confident that you can actually support your clients. So that means any of your clients that are already using BC, but they have a separate BC partner, you can now say, hey, we can help you with a lot of these functions. So we're going to go through security groups and users and stuff later on. And that's a really important part that I think all MSPs should be taking over and should understand. It also means that you don't have to give your BC partners too many privileges on their tenant, right, so that you can stay in control. So let's look at the environments. Let's ignore the sandbox environments for a moment. So you can see these are sandbox environments here. So everyone has...
Can I ask, how many sandbox environments do you get now? Was it 2 or 3?
3. So everyone can have 3 sandbox environments. And it's really easy to create a sandbox. So when you set up your trial, you'll have production like this, right? So when you get into your production environment, obviously there are a lot of functions to do it. So this is basically like your server and it's really easy to use. So one of the things we're going to cover today is turning on Teams access. So the first thing, once you've installed your trial, the first thing I want you to do is go to your environments, open up the production environment, and just make sure you turn on access with Microsoft 365 licenses, you turn it on. Then you can use it inside Teams, right? So that way it's all done. That also means that anyone Now, this is really important because a lot of partners aren't telling their customers about this, but anyone with a Teams license can now have full read access to BC through Teams. So what it means is their productivity goes through the roof, and they can actually, run their sales meetings directly with the opportunities list or whatever they're doing. All right, so it's pretty straightforward. Now, one of the other areas that we're going to talk about is the fact, because it's cloud and you can create your environments. How would I create a new environment? It's as simple as going to my environments, and I can either press new and create a blank one, right? And that will automatically install Cronus for you. Or once you've got your customer's production environment in place, you can literally just go up to copy. Now, when you copy, it should spit the dummy because I haven't got any more sandbox environments, right? All you need to do is put in the name, choose sandbox, hit copy, done. So,
and how long does it take for that process to start? Is it instant?
A couple of minutes and it's finished.
Oh, right. Okay, good.
Yeah, even in big environments. So then, of course, we've already created multiple other environments. Now, another thing that customers aren't being told, which you can share with your customers, is now what happens is Microsoft will notify us of and the customer of updates that are coming. So they might, for example, say such and such is available now, but we're not going to actually implement your upgrade until, say, September. So what it means is you can go to production, you can copy it to a new environment, and then you can get into your other environment, and you can actually set either here in the update window and the update date, or you can just use it up here. And you can actually choose to make sure that firstly it's in the right time zone that you've got. And normally you would make, in production, you would make it happen during the night. But because it's a demo environment or it's a sandbox environment, you can just schedule it to happen straight away. And when you change the dates as well, you'll see automatically it's scheduled to this at a certain date, but I can actually just tick this button here and make it run today. Right?
What if I don't do that, Kris? Will the instance still get updated, or do I have to administer this manually?
No, the system will get updated, but it will happen according to the Microsoft update window. So now it will try to update, and it will also send you a message that maybe it failed because they had some extension or they did some sort of mod or whatever that's not compliant. That generally doesn't happen unless you've got poor extensions in the system. But yeah, it will update by itself if you don't do this anyway.
Okay, cool.
Now the way to do that is for your environment. Now this is easy for you guys to do because you'll have global admin access as an MSP. So you can literally go into their admin center and you'll be able to go to notification recipients and put in your email, your support email, as well as their main contacts emails. And what will happen is you will get notifications all the time from Microsoft that such and such environment is going to upgrade, is ready to upgrade. It'll happen at these dates, and you can apply this stuff earlier, right? When it does try to do the upgrade and it fails, it'll also send a message that it couldn't upgrade because this particular thing broke it. So that way, you can help your customers be proactive in trying the new functionality well before it's in advance. So two advantages of having the sandbox is, number one, you can do an upgrade sooner and you can start preparing. You can start helping, the client can start preparing for this new functionality. Maybe it's new subscriptions or new this or, new automatic emailing or whatever that is that's in there. So they can get in and they can actually start implementing it and start testing it and training it and seeing how it's going to fit their business. So that way, when they're ready to go upgrade their production environment, they can turn it all on straight away. Now, by the way, when you're in, for you guys, you've got global admin, but there are also some other roles. If I just quickly cover roles, where are my roles? Well, we're going to come back to security groups in a second.
So you're looking at the Entra admin agent now, admin
Yes.
experience, right? Right.
Sorry, I've changed to correct. Now you'll see there's lots of different, as an MSP, you probably got global administrator, which I'm sure you'd have, but you'll notice here if we go Dynamics, right? See there's a Dynamics 365 administrator. That's not the one we want, right? We want the Dynamics 365 Business Central administrator.
Okay.
Okay?
There's a specific one for Business Central. I didn't know that.
Yes, definitely. So now what this means is say you get a new customer, they can give you, and you weren't, say, global admin, they can just allocate you to Business Central Administrator, which means you can now run the admin center. Now, when you're in the admin center, right, it also means that you can help them with extensions and other bits and pieces, just installing stuff. But once you've got either global admin or business central admin, you can help them manage their admin center. All right, so let's get into the actual details of what we're doing. So we've already mentioned our notification recipients. Obviously, we all know what entered apps are, and this is going to tell us if we've got any particular apps on this particular tenant. We also have access to telemetry, which a lot of you aren't going to use ever because there's a lot of tricky stuff in there. Normally, everyone gets a bit of support from Microsoft on this. We do a lot of it too, but it's not the sort of thing that a lot of partners don't use very well. So it's a bit more of a complex topic.
Chris, just a quick question from Jay.
Mm-hmm.
He's asking, so if you have global admin access, do you still need to have the BC admin?
No.
So that overrides?
Yeah, good question, Jay.
Thank you.
Now, what's important is when they say there's something wrong, you can just quickly jump in and see reported outages, and you can actually see what's happened. When was it? Why happened? Why was it outage? Now, in the last 5 years, we haven't had an outage.
Wow. That's why this is blank, because nothing's gone wrong.
Exactly.
That's pretty impressive.
Even you know how there was that big security company breach or whatever in the States, and pretty much everyone got logged out of their Windows and stuff about 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
BC wasn't affected at all.
There you go.
Our operations, this is a really handy area here, so you can actually see, I better change it to all. So you can actually see, for example, which environment, which particular environment, what happened. So in this particular case, I deleted an environment, and we can see who did it, when it was done, blah, 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 blah.
So there's a full audit of everything you do. So if someone says, oh, you're my MSP and you deleted something, you can go, well, hold on a second. You actually did that because here's your admin. So you can point the finger back as an example. Not that you would do that, but yeah, cool. Thanks.
There's actually a really cool feature in Business Central called the change log that everyone uses the same way. I'd like to show you that another day, but that's basically the same as this. A lot of clients go, oh, we never changed that. And you can just log in and go, you changed it on Wednesday from this to that.
Yes.
Capacity is one of the areas we're talking about today. So capacity of Business Central. So we get 3 environments, right? And we get 80 gigabytes. So now the cool thing is... Per
environment or like per in production, in SAM, all up?
Total, correct.
Got it. Yeah.
So now we've got a client with 26 years of history in their BC. So they've been on Navision since 1998. They're now on BC, and they've got 15, 20 companies in it. And yeah, it's literally got 26 years of data, and they didn't even get above their 80 gig limit. But of course, when we copied the production environment, it pushed it close to 80. So when we went to the 3rd copy, it said you can't create another copy because you're going to exceed the 80. Now, the good thing to know is when a production environment by itself goes above 80, nothing changes. It just means you can't create a sandbox, right? So they're not going to get any reduced performance. They're not going to get anything like that.
So not going to stop you from running your business if you go over 80. They're just going to say you can't do anything. Oh, got it.
Correct. Now, what will mean, but there are options. You can just go and buy either an extra 1 gigabyte or 100 gigabytes, right? So clearly you're not going to go and buy 4 gigabytes. So pretty much everyone's just going to go and buy an extra 100 gigs. That's something like $7 grand a year, Aussie, or something like that.
Can I ask a question, Chris? You said 80 gig, but why have you got 87.74 gig available in this tenancy?
Okay, so it includes a capacity per user, and it has some other capacity as well. So
I see.
When it doesn't include some blob stuff, depending on how you're using the system. So technically it looks like you get more, but it's really always at 80.
So if you've got like 100 users, your default is 80 gig because of the tenancy, but those additional users add additional capacity because Microsoft assign additional capacity. Thank you.
So if you had 80 users, you'd have 160 gig in total.
Got it.
So as you can see here, as I scroll down, I can see my quota. I've got 1 of 1 used and 3 of 3 used. We can actually see the database usage percentages, right? As you can see, even with our production stuff, there's still not much to use, and we've only been using this version of BC for the last 4 or 5 years, right? So it's really quite straightforward, and it's also an easy way to get to a list of the tables. Now, in that, you can see how big is each table. So you can just sort
of. What do you mean by table? What's a table in a?
So the table is all the data inside Business Central. This is actually going to be slow. I shouldn't have clicked on it. But say, for example, it's the the sales order table or the sales invoice table or the item table. So it's going to list all those tables and it's going to show us which are the biggest, and which enables us to go, hey, you've got a lot of junk in your change log. Why don't we delete that? Or, so it enables you to focus on which areas.
So as an administrator, we have the power to, from here, find out where the biggest capacity challenges are, click on list of table. You said it takes some time to load through, but then you can sort by the largest one and then say, as an example, your example, Kris, was that change log.
Which is one of the biggest culprits.
It's probably one of the biggest ones. And then you can, through Business Central, you can actually clear out the change log. Obviously, maybe keep the last couple of years as an example. Okay, cool. Thanks.
And another thing we find is in engineering companies, when they upload giant PDF files, engineering drawings into a sales order, and I've seen a client upload a file that was a gig just for one PDF. Just
and the recommend
create a link to it.
Correct. Yeah, I was going to say the recommended advice is don't attach 1 gigabyte PDF documents to a sales order. Use SharePoint, or there's the Azure Blob Storage as another backup, another way of getting data in and out of the system. But as the tenancy holds 80 gigabyte of storage, and if I'm not mistaken, Kris, from my memory, the 80 gig, if you don't add anything to Business Central, if you just do your transactions and your day-to-day activities in Business Central, you don't go anywhere near 80 gig. The 80 gig is only for things that you add to the environment. But if you're doing transactions and sales orders and invoices, there's no cost for that. It's just the additional stuff you're storing.
Yep. So just like I mentioned earlier, so we've got a $1 billion client. They've had it for 26 years, and their individual database, which has, I think it's got 15 different companies in it, doesn't make 80 gig with 26 years of history.
Right. Thank you.
All right. So let's get back to the environment so we can go a little bit more into what's actually in an environment. So now, first of all, you can see what apps they've got installed. So you don't need access to Business Central, right? But I can go to here to apps, and I can pick which particular environment, and I can say, for example, try different types of extensions. Now, we're going to cover this in a minute, but actually, we'll cover it now while we're here. So a global is basically a Microsoft extension. A per tenant extension is when their partner does a little mod for them themselves. So it's per tenant or per customer. And a dev extension is, of course, when you're in the middle of VS Code and you've pushed it to their sandbox environment, for example.
So the global apps, you can't make changes to global apps. You could just, as you can see on the screen here, we could update that global app if there's an update to that. But the PTEs are separately called out, so you can work on those ones as well. Correct.
So if I go to say PTE, as you can see here, I've got, because this is our specific environment, we didn't install it from app source, right? Because we constantly update it. You can see we've got 2 different per tenant extensions. If I had a dev extension, I don't have any. And of course, all of our global extensions. Now these all update by themselves, but you can actually go and do individual updates, right? Not that anyone does, but you can. All right, so that's our apps. Now, if I come back to the environment, most importantly, now this is where this sessions one is very powerful. Right, so this is going to tell us who's logged in, and it's going to allow us to boot them out. But it also gives us some other features which are new. So if I go into my sessions and I look at production, I can see at the moment, no one else is in our production environment, which is great. And I can actually go and cancel someone's session. Now that would happen, say for example, one of your clients calls you up and says, hey, we ran this process through a job queue or running this report. It's been running all day. They might have put the wrong filters. It's their data, right? So it's very easy. They could do something that you wouldn't normally advise them to do, and it might be causing some load. So you can literally go and say, all right, great, I'm going to cancel the session. Nice and easy. Now, if they had some other sort of problem, like, again, I haven't seen in 25 years these sorts of problems that we need to actually restart an environment from a BC perspective, from a user point, but you can restart the whole environment if you need to.
This is really powerful because as an MSP, previous to this functionality being enabled, MSPs wouldn't be able to log into Business Central and know what to do to kick people out of a session. So now as an MSP, you could start offering this additional service to your customers, saying that we can also manage any top level 1 challenges you might have. As an example, a report's running too long. That means that you as an MSP can start to offer these services. And it's great to see that it's so easy to click on this and it's just simple as canceling a session, and that wipes it out. And then they can log in and do whatever they want to do.
And in the old days, you'd have to know which server they were on. You'd have to log into Vision. You'd have to do all these things. You'd have to go, Too hard. Now it's nice and easy.
Very good. Love it.
So let's go back to our production environment again. Now I've also got some other details here. So now we're actually, one of our topics today is talking about backups. So you can actually create a database export. It's going to create a backpack file. Right, that'll save it on your blob storage.
Yep.
Now, no one ever does this. Ever.
It's there though. If you've got belts and suspenders, it's there.
It's there in case you want to take them off being online and go onto on-prem.
Okay.
Right? So basically, some giant retail company decides they want to go all on-prem again because they've got some weird hardware requirements or something like that. Then you could literally go and take a backpack and then you go and restore it to local SQL, fire away, done. Now, Business Central automatically backs up every 15 minutes. So at any point, you can actually go and restore from any one of the backups that it's taken by itself. Right? So you can pick which day, say Tuesday, and I want to pick which time. I wanted to pick the 4 p.m., 11:04 p.m. And you can physically restore to any point in time. It's crazy.
Wow.
And it's so much easier than like what we used to do with SQL. Right? SQL restores was always a pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that's restoring an environment. So what you would normally do is if they wanted to go back to test something, you would just create a new sandbox.
Is this ever happened, Chris? Have you ever had to go back like a week? Never. Right. It's just there. It's good to know. Okay, thanks.
Never. I've never had an issue. Never. Anyway, so that's the database stuff. From a support side, of course, you can initiate a support request on behalf of your customer with Microsoft, right? You, depending on your access and whatnot, so maybe you've got a support agreement with Microsoft. Otherwise, you can get the customer to do it through their thing as well because they get treated differently. You can actually report production outages. Now, I've done this once. It wasn't really an outage, but I knew that would get their attention. So I pressed it, it sent them a red alert, they responded, and they fixed the problem.
Right. It was a specific issue with your environment, right?
Yeah, one of the clients had tested an update to a new version on their sandbox. And funnily enough, Microsoft, because this customer always wants to do everything straight away, and this particular customer did this one straight away, and Microsoft literally released a hotfix the same day later on to solve it. But we couldn't get into that environment, so we did this one. They did a restart and upgraded by itself. It was fine.
Just on the support side of things as well, as a Pax8, as you guys are mostly Pax8 partners, you can just raise a ticket to us and we will create the necessary attention for you. But if you weren't with Pax8, you would have to actually purchase a pretty expensive support plan. So the call to action here is to sign up with Pax8 and we'll do that for you.
And I've got Pax8 to help me before because Microsoft sometimes can be thick. Anyways, okay, so now we've got the update settings. We've already been through that, and that's just setting up what time of the day and what date to run an update on. Obviously, copying environment's easy. I mentioned that already. You're just going to go copy and call it sandbox or test or train or whatever you want. Obviously, you can restore, you can rename. I wouldn't rename ever. Never rename an environment because any other connections have to be rebuilt. So, if you've got Power BI or any of that stuff, it's just going to play around with it. So I just wouldn't do that. Stay clear.
Yep.
That's pretty much.
What if, as an admin, I accidentally press delete?
It's going to ask you, are you sure? When you do it, you've got to actually hit yes, and then you've got to put in here the name of the environment. Now, I'm not going to show you.
Because you can't accidentally do it. That's good to know.
It's very difficult. But that's pretty much the big thing around maintaining Business Central. Now, do you want to take back over again and then we can get on to the other topics?
Yes, I will do that.
Or have I missed anything?
No, I'm just checking. We looked through backing up. We talked about the different environments. Security groups. Yes, you did miss security groups, Chris. You took us across to the roles and you were going to show us in BC the security groups. Please do that.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So now, let's talk about the easiest and most simple way to maintain your new users or your client's new users. Now, traditionally, you would set them up in the admin center. You'd give them their email, right? You'd assign them a license, and then you'd go into BC, and then you'd sync the user, and then you'd give them permissions per user. And a couple of years back, Microsoft introduced user groups inside Business Central. And then more recently, they ditched the user groups in Business Central and synced security groups. So now a best practice is as an MSP, you'll create security groups for many different reasons in the business. So let's go back to active teams groups and security groups. And so you'll create whatever different types of groups that you've got, or that you've inherited. Maybe the customer came to you from another MSP and there's all this stuff in there. So what we always advise is create security groups starting with BC at the beginning, so you know that they're specifically the ones that we're using for BC. So normally you'll create security groups like the sales team, senior finance, junior finance, accounts payable, accounts receivable, whatever it is, right? Now what it means is, inside BC, which one am I in? This one here. Oh, there you go. So occasionally you'll get a message. So I've actually turned mine on to be live all the time. So this one in particular just says, hey, we just made some optimizations while you're away, just refresh.
Nice.
And that's about the biggest interruption users get.
All right, cool. That's nice.
So now if I go to security groups.
So what did you click on there? We clicked on the search. Right, okay. You click on search and type security groups.
Alt Q. And I go to security groups. So now you can see here I've already done this, but when I go to create a new one, it actually looks up to Microsoft Entra and only allows me to choose the ones that are already in Entra. But you can see I've already set one up for BC sales, so it didn't include that one. So normally you'd see BC finance, BC.
And that's all set up. That's all synced. We don't have to do any magic. That's just order out of the box. It'll sync to anything in Entra. That's excellent.
Yep, done.
Yeah, that was much harder 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yes. So they've really beefed up these things to make it so much easier for MSPs to support. So that's really, really good. All right, so we're going to get that in place, and basically you're going to create so it's going to come through, and then all we need to do is assign permissions. Now in here, normally you'll assign your permissions, but this way I don't have to assign it to every individual user. So I'm just going to put local, login, so that way they can get into the companies. I'm not specifying a company specific, and in this particular one, users in this group will be able to log in to any of the companies in this environment. You can filter it to a certain company, and they'll have this particular functionality, which means they can post sales documents.
Can you show us the list of all the permission sets, just so that the team, because they may not have seen all of them.
Yeah.
What are all the permission sets? Just as I know that's a bit beyond the scope here, but it'd be good just to share it anyway.
Without permission sets, right, it's really easy to try and find things just by typing doc or sale or perch, and you can see everything that happens. So let's take an example, customers. We're talking about someone in sales, right? Cust. So now I can see it's pretty clear, right? One of these.
And it says it there, the description. Yeah.
Exactly. One of these I can edit, and this one, people don't even need to worry about it for the moment, right?
I see.
So, or it could be vendor or sales.
And assigning a permission set against the security group makes sense, because all of the inherent permissions for that security group is then applied, and you don't have to worry about assigning things to it. It's all automatically done for you.
Correct.
Nice.
So now by doing that, this security group now can log in and post sales documents as an example. But I might also do the 365 sales or something like that. So I can put in any other permissions. So now what it means is that security group's done, and the permissions are sorted. So now when Johnny signs up and becomes a new user, all you need to do is in BC, you're going to create a new user. You're then going to assign his license, and then you're going to put him in an active group called BC Sales Team, and that's it.
So obviously, I think most MSPs will understand the users component here, but if a user needs to log into Business Central, you'll need to purchase a subscription from the Pax8 portal and then assign that user that Business Central license. Otherwise, you can't continue, right? So make sure Kris has his environment set up already, but you'll have to go and purchase it first.
So just like Office or anything else, you've got to assign them that license. So this is actually another good segue, licensing. Do we want to cover licensing? Because there's some really cool things for MSPs in licensing.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's go down to billing licenses. And let's have a look at some of these ones. I've already filtered it. Now, firstly, there's Business Central Essentials. You don't see this in my list because I have Premium, right? But there's Business Central Premium and Business Central Essentials. Basically, Premium means it includes manufacturing and service management. So pretty much, unless you're in the manufacturing or field service customer, you're just going to have Business Central Essentials. Now that is the full user access and so is Premium. That's full access into BC. Means I can do anything that my permission sets allow me to do. Posting, viewing things, approving things, you name it, creating new things. All right, so let's go to filter. Can I put, no, I was hoping I was just going to type business. Anyway, so that's the Premium. There's also a light user or a Teams user. Of course, we don't have any in our tenant because we're all full users. Now, a Teams user or a team member or a light user still has full access to BC, but there's certain things they can't do, like posting to the general ledger. So that's great. They can still create quotes, create new contacts, do all these things, create items, create orders. It just means that they can't physically press post and ship, for example. Now, that's really easy to get around because you can schedule it to post them with the job scheduler. So that's one thing. Now, what's important for MSPs are these two here. Now, this one here is Dynamics 365 Business Central for information workers. Doesn't make very much sense, but it is. But what this means is when you set up your demo environment or your own trial environment, you'll have this license here, which means that you can have 10,000 of your team in your business as an MSP using the Business Central trial. Right, so that's a lot of stuff. So that one will only access evaluation companies such as Cronus. All right, so when you set up when they've got a production company, like a real company, it won't be an evaluation company, so you can't access it with that one. But this is good for you guys as MSPs, because when you set up your trial, you can assign everyone in your business this particular license because it's free, right? And everyone can have access to BC to start playing around.
And now, what's external accountant?
That's the good one. Thank you, Ben. So external accountant. Now, that was originally developed so that accountants and auditors could log into Business Central. So your clients, wouldn't necessarily have to have the auditor come into their business and then show them stuff on the screen and sit there next to each other. So the idea with the external accountant, it's a free access. You can only ever get 3 per tenant. Now, what we normally do is we normally assign, and all of our BC and DIY-ERP partners assign one of these to themselves, to their support account. So that means their whole support team can log in and actually provide support inside BC for free. And normally we share the 2 others with our actual accountants.
And that means the accountant has access to log into the environment, do their BAS reporting, but they can't do anything else. They can't, right? So it's just access basically.
It's like auditors. So an auditor can go and, look at your invoices and check that it's got, receipts attached to it and all those things.
So this is another value add that our MSPs could do by suggesting that we'll look after your environment and plus we'll give you access to your accountants. So that's something you can manage as an MSP. That's value adding.
And look, when I look across the industry, a lot of partners aren't using all these best practices and customers are suffering. So you have an opportunity to shine.
Nice. Very good.
All right, so that's pretty much it. We've got external accountant, we've got the free access to Cronus. There is a Partner Central sandbox, Business Central Partner Sandbox, that just gives you a separate environment as opposed to your actual environment.
I actually have a slide on that as well, Kris, because one of the call to actions is for people to actually get going by purchasing the old internal use rights, which is now called Partner Benefits. So I'll cover that area off as well. Is that all you wanted to show us in the admin?
Yes, just Perfect. Security groups. And then when we get to BC, the security groups come through. I think we were here. And now you can see, so don't forget, you're going to create the user, you're going to assign them their email address, you're going to give them a license, and then you're going to give them access to BC with BC Essentials or Premium. Now, inside BC, because we've already set up the security groups, all we do is go to users and sync, and it just brings them down. And now you'll see, they're the people that are in the sales team, obviously.
Okay. Not right, but it's a demonstration. We get it. Yeah.
Sure.
And show us that sync thing. What are you talking about there? Is that another function inside of Business Central where you can sync something?
Yep. So in the users, this is where all the users are. All we have to do is hit update users from 365.
Oh, right. Okay. That makes sense. And it can take 72 hours, but that doesn't take 72 hours. That's just a notice, right? That never happens, does it?
No, it's always instant.
Yeah. I think they're just giving themselves
Covering
a
their-
bit of, yeah, correct.
Giving them some
So this
buffer.
is where you can actually update. So if someone has, like, in the background gone and purchased another 10 Business Central licenses, you could then go in here and do the refresh. That will make sure that those licenses are assigned to those people. Then the security permissions are assigned, which has the actual permissions, the permissions assigned to the security permissions.
Correct.
Got
So
it?
this user, in actual fact, shouldn't have any permissions assigned to them.
Okay.
And all the permissions they get are through that security group. So I can see that this user has local login and sales, which is what we saw before. You can also see what licenses they've got. In this particular case,
None.
this person
Perfect.
doesn't even have a license.
Excellent.
Because I
Very
removed it
good.
for testing.
I love it.
Yeah,
This is much
so-
better than what it used to be.
Definitely. So back to you, Ben.
Yes, thank you very much. That was excellent. Maybe a clap of hands, or I was going to show a show of hands, maybe just some claps on the screen so we can appreciate Chris's efforts. Thank you very much. Excellent. I will take over the screen. I'm going to go on to slide number 13, where we're going to talk a bit more about some of the risk mitigation strategies we were talking about before. So let me just go straight across to slide 13. Part of this segment is we want you to be aware of some things that we don't want you to like fall over, which a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, some Dynamics partners do fall over because they haven't spent the time to understand it. And in this example, I'm going to share with you the MCA, the Microsoft Customer Agreement. This is a link. You can click on this link. If you're going to get into Business Central, I think it's good to go in with eyes wide open, understand the MCA. This was last updated March 2023. Just so you understand what you're signing up for and what your customer is signing up for. Very important to understand that, so that if someone's asked a question, you've got a bit of knowledge and you're not like thinking, oh my God, I need to go and find that out. So if you are serious about doing this process and administering properly, go spend the time understanding that. Part of that MCA is this one, which is the Data Protection Addendum, which talks about in quite a lot of details what Microsoft's responsible for as well. Very important to make sure you're spending the time on those two documents. I'm not going to go into them. I'm just going to let you review them in your own time so you're aware of that as well.
Sorry to Ben, that data addendum is really important for NGOs, NFPs, and anyone related to government. So they're going to want to see that straight away to know that their data is staying locally in Australia or in the Philippines or wherever you are.
Yeah, and Kris kind of touched on it a bit as well. Remember, he said that the database is backed up every minute. One of the things that he didn't mention, which is naughty, he should also talk about replication. So whenever you've got something in Azure in the Australian instance, it's being replicated into another data center as well in another region, so that your data resilience is also covered. And that's the whole strategy that Microsoft has around data and governance, is that they're really here to protect your customers. One of the areas that people always struggle with finding is, especially when you're responding to tenders, is what are the SLAs? So here it is, Microsoft Business Central SLAs, which they do have a 99.9% uptime guarantee as a maximum, with a service credit of 25% of that value. So if you do have an outage, we have not seen it, but if you do have an outage, and let's say it's 5 minutes, they will pay you 25% of the service credits amounts for the time that it was down. So there is some liability on Microsoft, not a lot. And as Kris said, like, when was last outage? I think it was 2018 from memory, when I was back on nav to on-premise stuff, was the last time I'd seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen one in the last 5 years.
Correct. We did cover this as well. So just as a note, if there are some additional questions or FAQs about administrative experience, it also talks about what happens if you do exceed your quota, what to be aware of. And Kris did mention that, don't worry, they're not going to shut you down or anything, but you won't be able to produce any more environments. So important to read those two as well. And that's interactable as well. You can click on that link as well. Service overview of Business Central. There we go, Kris. We should have put this slide up the front. So Business Central is available in 170 countries and 21 regions, Azure regions. So it's extremely capable. And part of Microsoft's strategy is the BCDR. So again, this BCDR, that's actually that link is clickable as well. I apologize, it's not in the right color. But if you have a customer that wants to understand the resiliency of Business Central, that document talks to it as well as the Azure database being the backup process for backing up of the Business Central environments. So this is all available to you. We'll present the slide at the end so you can get it. How to specifically back up VC, it does come up a lot. This is a way to get going on it, and it's the backpack process, which Kris shared earlier. But again, this is available for you to review. That's why I've put it up there as well. Kris touched on it as well. Business Central license types. I've got this screenshot, a bit about what Essentials looks like versus Premium versus Team Member. So on the far left, you've got.
Everyone always leaves out the free one. There's also a free access.
Oh, you mean the Teams one?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I did leave it out because it's free. But here's an example of Business Central Essentials. This is in Australian dollars. So it's $1,257 a year for a 12-month commitment, which is about $104 a month. The premium experience, which you can see down the bottom, also includes service order management and manufacturing, is a more expensive subscription, and it's about $149 a month. Why I'm telling you this? There's a price change coming. This is the first price change I've seen in a long time. So October 2025, these prices are going up a little bit. Just be aware of it. Yeah, perfect. I'll move on to the next one. So we think you should start learning. We're very passionate about this space. As we suggested, starting here is a great way to get going into Business Central. You'll learn a ton of stuff. Please share it with your team as well around Business Central. It's about an hour and a half. I think it's about an hour to complete, to be honest with you. It's not very heavy, but it's a good way to get going.
If you had your trial in place first and you did that at the same time, it'd be like learning how to drive a manual car. You really get your hands onto it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, 100% right. There's a couple of tools that you could look at as well. If you've got your GDM team hat on, you might want to look at the Forrester Research ROI calculator and Forrester Research, which is excellent. I highly recommend you reviewing that. Microsoft skilling is very important. You obviously need to start working towards your solution designation. I'm not saying you need to do it today, but just be aware of how to do that process. And there's also a ton of content on GDM resources. I did want to share that with you as well. But also, if you can add yourself to the Microsoft BizApps partner email address, this is like a hidden gem that no one knows about. If you email that, they'll keep you updated with all the latest and greatest on Business Central. So call to action here is to link onto that one as well. And this is Kris's favorite slide. He loves this. This is the guided tour slide where you can actually get going straight away. You don't need to download a trial and get going. You can actually just start a guided tour. So
and share this with your prospects.
Yeah, and share it with your prospects. Or speak to your prospect and say, listen, we're getting into this Business Central workload. Do you want to do this guided tour with us, as an example, so you can learn together? Tons of AK.ms. So AK.ms is the Microsoft shortcuts for all things shortcuts, and BC Links gives you a ton of content. This is where you can find everything relating to every type of link that Business Central offers. It's all in one central spot for you, and you can receive that when you're ready. So call to action. For us, it's important that you thank you for attending this session, obviously, but have a review of your OneCloud with us, which means we will look at you with your customer base and identify the next logical workloads. Maybe we can connect you up with Kris Manche, who can walk you through DIY-ERP to begin that first journey with you. There's also partner launch benefits, which we mentioned before. If you are a PAX8 partner. If you're a Microsoft partner, you can actually purchase what's called partner launch benefits. It's about $700 a year, and you do get five free subscriptions of Business Central. So rather than paying for an external ERP solution or an external accounting solution, you might as well use the free tools. That will get you underway as well. The rest of the slides is more about investments that Microsoft have to share, including the Partner Hub. The Transform site is excellent with sales and marketings and promos, and there's the BC needs assessments and deployment offers. Is an incredible rich experience. That top link down here with the Dynamics Transform site is how you get to that. And there are technical and pre-sale deployment services as well as BC Concierge. I don't think you need to worry too much about it until you get your solution designation. Reach out to us if you want to have a conversation on solution designation. Most of our partners have not yet attained that, but they're working towards that. Kris, I know you've attained it. Most of our partners are trying to get to that still, so they don't have access to some of these things. I'm just going to see why didn't this slide build out. This is an example of the funded engagements you can reach or get access to if you do have your solution designation, which means your pre-sales activities will be mostly paid for by Microsoft, which is nice. Another reason to get into this workload. Some upcoming events on the left-hand side, the Microsoft MCAPs for business for Microsoft partners is coming up. It's on the 15th. Yeah, 15th of July. Highly recommend you attend that because you're going to hear a whole heap around what Microsoft plans are on not just the agentic experience in future, but also more on how M365 and business applications are kind of blending together a bit. So important to be on that one. Plus, Pax8 have the a landing site for all of our events that we're doing locally. I'm doing an event in 2 weeks, specifically for non-for-profit workloads. So if you'd like to join non-for-profit ones, you can do that, but please bookmark that site as well. And the rest is just further knowledge. I do want to share it with you a little bit. There's the Microsoft Dynamics licensing guide, which we highly recommend you get the latest version every time. And I'm just giving you an example of why it's important to read the licensing guide. This slide, I think it's a bit hard to read actually, but it shows you what happens when you buy Business Central as your base license. But then when a customer wants to purchase Dynamics 365 sales or field services or customer insights, you can add on those licenses at a much cheaper price. So just as just be aware that there are discounts if you do start to add more and more Dynamics workloads onto your customer's tenancy. And that link is also available for you as well. Kris talked about the control access using security groups. There's a very nice article that steps you through that process. Kris kind of explained it well, but if you want to follow along with the bouncing ball, this link will also we'll be able to follow that as well. And that talks about the security groups. So new features and partners, new features in partner access for the environment. There is constant updates coming through. I'm going to just share with you on this. I'm just going to put it at the bottom of this link here, a link to this page, so you can see all of those updates that are coming through. Very important for those wave releases as well. I think that's pretty much everything. There's the Teams one that we were going to talk about, Kris. I think we ran out of time on Teams, but be aware Business Central in Teams. There is some setups to do. It's pretty basic, but you can now access inside of your Teams environment all the features that Business Central offers, which means you can have your sales calls or your discovery conversations with opportunities inside of Teams. It's a beautiful feature. Kris, we might have to do a separate one just on that.
It'll take 1 second. I can show them something.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, 100%.
So remember in the admin center, I turned on Teams Access, Office with Microsoft 365 licenses. Well, then all you need to do here,
you have to share screen because they're seeing my screen.
Okay, I'll just get to the right place so I can open up where's a, let me just open up a preview or something. That'll do.
Okay.
Okay, so let me get rid of all that stuff. Okay, now I'll share again.
Okay.
Now what's really handy, and customers love this. So I'm in a chat. Right? I'm in a channel. Mm-hmm. So you can see once that access is turned on, it now means that I can just add BC as an app. All right. So firstly, you add the app all together to the whole Teams environment, or you can add it to only a channel. Right. So if I just go back to where I was, so I've already added it to this channel. In this particular case, I'm actually running BC inside Teams now. Oh, I just better sign that one back in again. Mm-hmm. So now, for example, I'm running inside my team a specific window that I want to run all the time. So if I had a sales team, right, and they're doing their sales meetings in the mornings, I'd just go and show their opportunities, right? But in this particular case, I'm just going to show, what we're doing inside BC, nice and easy. I can also see I've got my product videos, right? So I can then go and run this stuff in here. And of course, whenever you're actually using it in the chat, the really cool thing about BC is I might be in something like this, and I can actually just go and share any window, right? So say I went to whatever product videos. You can actually share everything into Teams, right? So everything's directly sharing.
It's just a button now. It used to be you'd have to get the URL, and it's just a button, and it goes straight into a Teams channel.
Correct. And then when you're back in your Teams chat, I go to my posts. You can see here, I've already posted myself here a sales order that was in there in particular, right, to the rest of the team in this channel. So now I just go click on details. It literally opens up that sales order and keeps the chat here. I can keep chatting.
And that's free. You don't need a license. You just need Teams. Obviously, you need a Teams license, but access to this that's great.
And it also means that you can do all your approvals and all that sort of stuff. Where's my share screen? I'm going to turn that one off. Oh, it's all the way over there. Oops. Get out of the way. So what it means for everybody is that you can use all that stuff in Teams. It means you can also do all your approvals in Teams. So when you set up workflows and things like that are set up in BC, they're actually going to get approvals. So in Teams, you see your little approvals window. You can do it on your phone. No BC access is required.
Very good. Excellent. Look, we're just on time. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to the very last couple of slides. I think I was at slide 38. And you can actually, at the end of this session, I will send this out as PDFs, because everyone says, can we get a copy of the PDF, and no one ever sends it. I actually will send this through, because I know how frustrating that is. Setting up tenancy notifications. We talked about tenancy limits as well, but enabling features ahead of time as well, which is the final element that I wanted to share. And with that, we're at time. Thank you very much. I very appreciate it. Reach out. Happy to help anytime. And look out for yourself on YouTube. We're going to be recording. We're setting this recording up as well.
Thank you, Ben, for having me, and thank you everyone for joining.
No worries. Excellent. See ya.
Bye.